Hi everybody, it's Dayna from the Hard Mechanic Extension Office, and as you can tell, things are a little bit different. I have to apologize for the fact that there wasn't a video last month. I had filmed these videos while I was pregnant before I went on maternity leave, and then didn't get a chance to send them to the library, and my iPad where I had filmed them died. And so we are refilming. We missed April, and I do apologize for that. She was 2 weeks old, I think. And so that one didn't get done, but we are here with the May recipe, and we're going to take a little bit of a different twist on it because it is such a simple recipe. It really is just mixing, because it makes a master mix for your pancakes. And so instead of going to the store and purchasing boxed pancake mix, you can make this at home, and it's a little bit healthier because we're going to add in some whole wheat flour instead of just that all-purpose flour, and then it's just so much cheaper. And so we are going to make the master mix first, and I apologize that the camera angle isn't great, but I'll hold it up. And then you're just going to store it in some sort of airtight container. This just happens to be a cereal box that I have, so that's what we're going to store it here at my house in. But you could use any sort of airtight container that you wanted. And then anytime you want pancakes, you would use it just like the box, scoop it out, mix it with, I'll give you some other ideas to mix it with and make your regular pancakes. But since this is such a simple recipe, I figured I would try to do a little bit of extra and show you how you can have your toddlers help along in the kitchen. So this is Riley, and she loves to help me in the kitchen. And so, yeah. And so I'm going to show you a couple of things that we have at our house that make cooking with Riley a lot easier. And then she's actually going to do the mixing. So I'll try to hold the camera angled just a little bit. She's already practicing here. One thing I want to preface it with, first I apologize if anybody cries at any point. But also, if you're going to cook with your toddlers, you just have to kind of let go of the idea that it's going to be clean, and that it's going to go great. She spills brownie mix, cake mix, cracks eggs everywhere. But she's learning, and so we go ahead and we let her do that, and then we just try to not spill that, all of those things, and so she can improve each time. And I can vouch for the fact that since she has started cooking with me, or my husband, she is much better. She cracks her eggs now. She can pour into the bowl almost always without spilling. But let me give you a couple of tips. So I use measuring cups that have a handle like this, but Riley struggles with those. And so toddlers' motor skills, they get their motor skills kind of from the shoulder down. So their hands and fingers are the last things that get their skills. Hold on. And so you kind of have to think about, they can do big movements, but those smaller movements are a little bit harder. And so wrist rotation is a little bit tricky. So in our house, I went to the thrift store and we found this pitcher. And Riley can pour this pitcher much easier than she can turn this measuring cup. And so anytime we cook with Riley, if we're making something that has oil or water or anything like that, I always pour the amount that is needed into that pitcher. I measure it out first and then pour it into that pitcher, and then Riley's able to pour this way. Much easier because this is kind of a whole arm motion, whereas turning something like this, you really need that wrist rotation. And so she spills from these a lot more. She spills from this very rarely. She'll spill everywhere today because we're on video. The other thing is, again, sort of since that wrist rotation can't happen with this, sometimes I put our ingredients in bowls already, or some sort of containers, Tupperware container, something like that, where she can grab the sides with two hands and dump. It still does require a little bit of wrist rotation, but not so much that measuring cup does. The other thing we have at our house is toddler size utensils. And so these all came from the store where everything is only $1 bill. And they've been great. So she helps do eggs with her little spatula. She helps scoop out brownies. She helps mix the brownies. She's going to help mix our Master Mix today. She uses her spatula to scoop mix out into pans when we're cooking. And then we haven't used our ladle a whole lot yet, but she does use it sometimes. As for a knife, we don't use, if you follow our Hard and Candy Extension page, we have the Laugh and Learn kits this month that actually have child-safe knives in them. They are great. My niece and nephew are 9 and 5, and they use those, and they're great. You can kind of cut along your skin, and you don't cut yourself. But for Riley, we have a knife like this, where it actually has a handle, and she can cut into that. So we don't cut anything too drastic, but we do still cut some things. Are you ready to cook? You ready to mix stuff? Mix, yes. So those are just some things that we have that help make cooking with toddlers a whole lot easier in our house. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to make the Master Mix first. And Riley's choice today is going to be to scoop out of this with her spoon, which is fine. So the Master Mix takes 4 cups of all-purpose flour. You can dump that into the bowl. Good job. You can do that. Can you see she's just kind of scooping into the bowl? And again, I'll show you the bowl. Whoops, I dumped some in, didn't I? Here in just a minute. Good job. So this is our all-purpose flour. It is different from self-rising. So, you ready, Mom? You dump some more? So if you have a recipe that differentiates between the two, try to get the one, that was Mommy's fault, that it says. Good job. So then here's where we have a little bit of difference. We are going to use some whole wheat flour. And so this calls for 2 cups of whole wheat flour there. This one she's just going to dump in. Good job, Riley. Okay. Then it calls for 2/3 a cup of sugar. Can you scoop this in or dump this in? Which do you want to do? You want to dump it? Good. And then you need 2 tablespoons of baking powder and a tablespoon of baking soda. And so those are both in there, and Riley just dumped that right in. I held the other ones because they were a little bit heavier, and one of them was glass. But this one was plastic and small, so she did that. All right, so I'll try to... Can you stir that up, Riley? Can you stir that up? Yeah. Let's get your whisk. That's what you like to use. You want to use your whisk? Yeah? All right. And just stir all that up, okay? One thing I forgot to, another tip is a lot of times I put a silicone mat underneath any bowls that we're stirring, and then the bowls don't go anywhere. So that's an option as well. Sometimes her stirring is like that, up and down, but that's okay. It still is mixing those ingredients together. If I will say, anytime we have an ingredient that's dry and wet ingredients, she really gets the stirring concept a lot better, because you can see, you know, the dry ingredients change colors and all of that. This is just stirring dry ingredients, so it's not as easy to tell when your ingredients are mixed. So she's just going to play with it in all of her, with all of her utensils, which is fun. So that's as simple as that. We have made our Master Mix just like that. And so if we were going to go ahead and make pancakes this morning, and I know it looks like I'm not holding my child great, this is how she prefers to be held. She throws her head all the way back. But if we were going to go ahead and make our pancakes this morning, we would take 1 cup of this Master Mix, and I'll show you in a little bit what this looks like when they're cooked. But we would take 1 cup of our Master Mix here. We would take 1 egg, 3/4 a cup of skim milk, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and that would be our plain pancake batter. We would stir all that up. We'd get our griddle hot. You want to drop water droplets onto your griddle to see if it's the right temperature. When you drop those water droplets onto the griddle, they should stay for a second and sizzle and then evaporate. If they evaporate immediately, it's too hot, and if they stay and don't sizzle and go away, then it's not hot enough. And so you want them to sizzle and then evaporate, and then whenever they are ready, you can pour. Again, with a toddler, we would use our scoop like this. Typically, I just take my measuring cup that I've already used to get my pancake batter ready, and I pour that way. I know people who use ice cream scoops. It's whatever you prefer. I know people who use squirt bottles. They pour their already mixed pancake mix into the squirt bottles and do it that way. But either way, you're going to pour enough. It's going to spread. You can kind of determine from that first pancake if your pancake batter is thin or thick enough, and adjust from there if you need to add more water, a little bit more flour, or whatever it is. And then you want to wait until the edges bubble up, and then you're going to flip it over, and it should have that pretty brown color. You can also tell from that first pancake if maybe it's too hot or not hot enough by the coloring there. It should be a very consistent brown color all the way across. Flip it over, and then it doesn't take any time at all, and you have got pancakes. If you want with this, you can take a banana, and we can mash this banana up and mix it in with our plain pancake mix. Or you can take berries, blueberries, strawberries, chop those up, add them in. Anything like that you wanted to add into your pancakes, you can add in with that plain pancake mix that we've made from this Master Mix batter here. And I'm going to show you just Riley playing along here. She likes to scoop, see, just like that. So she could very easily do our pouring of our pancakes. We may try that here in a minute if I can get a chance to set Sutton down and help her with that. And then she maybe, depending on their age, could even pour it onto the griddle. If they have a good concept of the fact that griddle is hot, obviously, and that they need to pour without touching and without using their other hand to touch as well. But I wanted to do it this way. I could have waited until nap time to film this. But I wanted to do it this way to show you that it is so simple to get your kids in the kitchen. And there's a lot of tasks that they can do that we don't typically think about them helping with. Now, she just made a complete mess. But again, in our home, that's okay, because we wanted to learn in the kitchen and how to do things and how to not make messes in the future. She's going to learn that control the older she gets. Even better if she has practice, and so that's kind of what we do. There are, again, certain things that we don't let her help with if it's heat or sharp things or anything like that. But other than that, we try to have her right there while we're cooking, making anything. And if she shows any interest at all, we try to let her help. And as you can tell, she has the interest for sure. Questions at all, please ask them. Like I said, I will add on to the end of this video what these pancakes look like cooked, and if I can, I'll even have Riley do that step as well. Other than that, I will be back next month in our regular setting, so it won't be this chaos. In our June video, we are using if you've not done this video with us before, we are using the 2021 food and nutrition calendar that is put out by the Kentucky Nutrition Education Program. It's a great calendar. It's got monthly recipes, ways to make it a meal, physical activity tips, substitution tips, all these different things. We don't have very many more at the office. We do have a few, I think. We don't have very many more, but you can always find these recipes here on the library Facebook page. We post the recipe as part of this video, or you can find them online as well. So just search Kentucky Nutrition Education Program, and you can find their calendar recipes. You also can find past calendar recipes as well. And I can say we've been doing this monthly program for several years now, And there have been very few recipes that I wouldn't recommend to someone. And even the ones that weren't my favorite, other people loved. And so that was one thing I always liked about doing this class in person, and hopefully we'll get to do those soon, was seeing different people's takes and how they would adjust and things like that. So again, this one's simple, Master Mix Pancakes. We now have a very inexpensive pancake mix that's going to go a lot longer for way less money. And I would tell you the cost per serving, but if I remember right, and I'll add that to the comments here, I did a training right before I went on maternity leave, and if I remember right, the cost per serving is incorrect in the calendar. So if you do have the calendar, it says $1.34 per serving, but if I remember right, it was significantly cheaper than that. So let me double check that, because I just remember that as I was talking, and I'll add that in the comments of what the actual cost per recipe was for the May recipe, which was Master Mix Pancakes. Alright, we're back. Sutton may scream in the middle, but we're going to give it a shot. So, we are going to use 1 cup of Master Mix. You want to dump that in the bowl? Yeah. Alright, you can see she's dumping. Good job. Again, that handle is a lot easier for her. Then we are going to use... we don't need that yet, baby. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Can you pour this in there? Can you pour that in there? Good job. You see, she just kind of turns it over with her hand like that. Good job. All right, we need 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Oh, we'll have to get sis here in a second. Can you pour that in there? Pour our cinnamon in. Good job. Okay, let me take that. We need 3/4 cup of skim milk, which I've already dumped into her little pitcher here. Good job. Not a drop spilled. Good job, baby. Okay, and then we need 1 egg. So here is how we do the egg, and it may not work for everybody. It may not work this time because it doesn't always work for us. So we have our egg just in a glass bowl, and she's watched her dad crack enough eggs that she knows to kind of separate. And so what we try to do is slam the egg down. Let me try to move it a little bit. Slam the egg just enough that it makes a crack, and then she's able to kind of bust that crack open. So it doesn't always work. We always do it in a separate dish, that way we can get underneath shells before we dump it into what we're working with. Oh wait, let Mommy help this time. Like that. And so it kind of just creates enough of a crack that she usually can dig her fingers in and open it up. Can you get it open? Cool. See, doesn't always work. That one would have worked, but went down the side of the dishwasher. So hold on just a second, we're going to get another egg, and we'll be right back. Alright, take 2 on our egg. I'm going to crack just enough. We're going to turn our bowl a little bit opposite. Can you break that open? Can you crack it open? Get the egg out? Eggs are new for us, just so you know, if you can't tell. Can you hold it and pour that out? Oh, here, you do it. You're not going to do it today. But that's okay. We made a little bit of a mess with our egg, but that's okay. Can you pour the egg into our pancake mix? Good job. Perfect. Okay, now, good job. Get your whisk. She was stirring it with her little spatula while I was trying to get Sutton. And again, a silicone mat here underneath this bowl would go a long way. And I almost always do that and just forgot today. So she's going to stir our Master Mix pancake mix with the egg, milk, vanilla, and cinnamon to make plain pancakes. And then we'll get those on the griddle here in just a minute. You want to put the banana in?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we can put banana in our pancakes. Alright, so we'll show you what they look like done here in just a minute. Can you say bye?
Bye.
Okay, I wanted to show you really quickly the bubbling up and kind of how these are cooking up, the consistency of them a little bit. So these have been on there for maybe a minute and a half. But I also wanted to make a note that when you store your Master Mix in your airtight container, it's a good idea to label and date that so that you know how long ago it was that you made it, and so how long it is good for. And then label is always a good idea. A lot of people may want to also put the actual ingredients on there, so you can make it again in the future, or so you can remember what's in it. So, and I apologize for the shakiness of this. I'm trying to hold something. So I'm going to flip these over and I'll show you that too here in just a second. Okay, last thing I'll show you and then I really am done. I wanted to make a note too that from traditional pancakes, because these have the whole wheat flour, they do cook up a little bit darker. And so maybe something to note with your kids that, you know, this is homemade mix, and so that's why they're not burnt. They're just darker because of that whole wheat flour. It's got that darker color. Other than that, these are good to go. They cook up great, just like regular pancakes. They're thick. If you wanted them a little bit thinner, less fluffy, you could add more milk. But I think they seem like great pancakes, and so I'm excited to try these. Thank you all again for watching, and we'll see you next month.